Be sure to subscribe for more content.
What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the BigBC Finance Channel, and I hope you're having a very lovely day today. So in today's video, we're going to be talking all about Luna Classic, what has happened to it recently, and why I think Luna Classic could blow in the near future, with some, as well as a general short-term price prediction for Luna Classic. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. And of course, if you appreciate the daily analysis and you're one of the 86% of people that watch my videos that have not yet subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button. So without further ado, let's talk about Luna Classic, and we're going to start off with what has happened to it recently, and then we're going to come with that price prediction and the longer term outlook here. So the annotations are back on the screen, and basically what we've seen over the past few days here is some very choppy behavior. If you see my previous videos, you'll know that this is due to some recent economic data that has come out. This small pump that we saw here was because of the inflation data, and this drop here, these large candles, was because of the interest rate decision. If you saw all that yesterday, basically it did come in as expected, but the projections looked worse than November, and that the Fed conference was particularly bearish in their tone. So of course, this is why the markets dropped. Not just Luna Classic, pretty much everything, as you can see on the right here. If we have a look at the S&P, for example, things are very down here. So of course, that was quite a bearish day for pretty much everything yesterday, and hence why we've seen this drop. And so on the short term here on Luna Classic, the first thing that I noticed is that we're sandwiched in between two trend lines here. And basically we have this lower trend line on Luna Classic, this purple line, which is a lifetime support here. And we have this resistance that kind of looks like this. Basically, we can draw a line connecting the tops of the price here, very clean line, which basically encompasses 4 peaks that we've seen here on Luna Classic throughout the past few days. And of course, what we have in front of us is some sort of triangle. Now, this triangle pattern tells us that there's going to be a large breakout either to the upside or to the downside. And what we should see, if this pattern is respected, is prices do something like this, where, you know, we could see it just hover like this for the next couple of hours or even the next couple of days, but at some point it's going to make a decision as to whether it's going to break through this resistance to the upside or break below the support to the downside. Now we don't know what side it's going to be, but of course we keep our eyes on the charts, and when the price approaches either this support line or the resistance line, we want to keep an eye for a breakout. And when we see a breakout, we'll see large candles take the price above the resistance, kind of looking like this green candle here that shows us that there's a lot of momentum. And we want to see this volume down here increase as well. So if we do see a confirmed breakout, we want to see that volume increase and large green or red candles. If we see something like this where the price just kind of hovers in the same region, not really doing too much, small candles like these candles here, for example, then that is a false breakout and we wouldn't be trading that. But if we see a lot of momentum and a lot of buyers jumping in to push prices higher, then we could see a nice price target from this short-term pattern here of around 10% in the upwards direction. If we do break out through the resistance, of course, this distance here is the distance between the first test of resistance up here and the first test of support down here, and we just drag the measuring tool to wherever the breakout may be. So we could see 18.3 cents, 18.2 cents culminate from a breakout to the upside if we break above this blue resistance here, and likewise, as I say, we can also see a breakout to the downside if the prices fall below the support. And of course, if that were to happen, then we'd see a price target from this triangle at 14.7 cents. So this is the first pattern that I see, but if you thought that was exciting, then wait until you see this. So at the moment, all you see from this support line is a place where the prices come down to touch it just 2 times here, which wouldn't make it a very valid support line. But the fact is, this purple line down here is a lifetime support on Luna Classic. So if I zoom out on the 1-day chart, for example, basically prices have come down to this level on several occasions now, and every single time has bounced in the upwards direction. So I have this circled here from previous videos, but basically the first few times when the price came down to this level, we saw the price touch it very briefly and then shoot in this upwards direction. We see the exact same thing here, apart from the prices stayed in this region for several days. Since we're on the 1-day chart, that looks like it spent a whole week at this level, and then soon after we saw prices pump well into the upwards direction there. This was a 180% pump before prices eventually came back down to test our purple supports here again. And in this region here at the end of August, the exact same thing happened. Prices came down to this purple support for several days, and then ultimately we saw a 580% pump in the upwards direction. And now what we are seeing is once again prices are just remaining by our purple support here. We came down very quick in this region, and in the same time frame we saw a 40% pump culminate from a touch of this purple support, and now we're again just consolidating within this area. Not too much is happening, which looks like a setup that we saw back over here and back here at the end of August as well. And what's in addition, and what we're also seeing is some resistance that looks like this. So we can actually get this peak here, we can connect it to this peak, and if we just extend that line, it almost perfectly encompasses the price data that we got at the moment. So this trend line here is one I've been observing. Basically, you can see it connects these two peaks perfectly, and in recent times the price has really well respected it. If we go on the 1 hour chart and just delete this other trend line that we talked about previously, we can see that apart from this little blip here on price, the price has actually really well respected this longer term trend line that we have on Luna Classic. Basically, this is the same trend line that connects these two peaks up there, just almost coincidentally perfectly being respected by this price here. So this has come down. Of course, it's not 100% perfect, but generally speaking, it really does look like the price has actually come to respect it. And of course, the pattern that we're seeing here is very similar to the pattern I showed you on the shorter term, except on a much larger scale. Now, a resistance of this magnitude that's been building up for the past few months on Luna Classic should warrant a large price move in either direction. If this resistance line gets broken, that should be quite a large event, and if we do see that, we could start to see another bull rally here on Luna Classic. And of course, the price target, just from measuring it as a typical triangle, is the first test of support, the first test of resistance, and that distance becomes 176%. Of course, if we drag it out to where we could potentially see some sort of breakout, that is 145% of a pump. So remember what I said about that lifetime support. Every time we've seen the price come down to this purple line here, we've seen it shoot in the upwards direction. We have this triangle formation that could be respected. Of course, chart patterns are never perfect, so we could see it not we could see a scenario where this doesn't get respected, but if it does get respected, what we could potentially see is prices start to head in an upwards direction. I wouldn't expect the price to do this over the course of one day, for example, but what we could see over the next several days and several weeks, prices start to head up and respect this triangle that we've seen here. And ultimately, the price target from that would be around 40 cents, 145% from where we are right now. So that is pretty exciting stuff. And so these next few days here on Luna Classic, in my opinion, are fairly critical, because what we really want to see here on Luna Classic is for us to break through these two trend lines here. We've got these two important trend lines, both in blue here, that the price needs to break through in this kind of direction like this. Of course, if we lose this lifetime support on Luna Classic, that is also a massive bearish event in my opinion. And if we do lose that support, then we're going to be heading down to 13.5 cents. And part of the reason for that is because we could be seeing a breakdown from this shorter term triangle that I showed you. But another reason for that is because there isn't a lot of liquidity below these levels. If I draw this fixed volume profile range for you guys, for example, we can see that the majority of the liquidity is in this area in price. The price right now at 16.3 cents. If we have a look below that level, the bars get smaller and smaller and smaller, meaning there's less liquidity, less buyer support at these levels here. So if we do see prices get down here quite fast, there are less buyers to stop the price from falling further. So what we should see if we do fall below this support level is we could see some slow behavior to begin with, but as prices get down to where there's less and less liquidity, we should see acceleration of the prices in the downwards direction all the way to 13.5 cents. And 13.5 cents on Luna Classic is a historical support. So if we go back in time, we can see that it was a resistance in this region at the end of August, as well as a decent resistance for this region here back at the end of June as well. So this is why I've chosen this pink line as an area of support if the prices break below the 16.5 cents level. Now, of course, another catalyst for the price to do something like this is what Bitcoin is doing. And Bitcoin at the moment is in quite a critical area as well, because of course, similar to Luna Classic, we saw the interest rate hike affect the Bitcoin price. And at its peak, we got to around 18,370 on Bitcoin, but fell all the way down to 17,500. Now, it perfectly touched our support line. It bounced off our support line and went in the upwards direction. So the support line here is in blue. And if I just zoom out, you can see why that is. price has come to use it as a resistance several times in its past here. So quite a crucial level here on Bitcoin. But of course, right now it looks pretty critical. And if we do lose this level here on Bitcoin, we could fall back into the rising wedge pattern where prices do something like this, respect our rising wedge and fall down like this. Now the rising wedge pattern is bound by the support line in purple, blue line as a resistance, and of course that is a bearish pattern if Bitcoin falls back down into it. So in my opinion, if Bitcoin loses this 17,500 level, if it continues to head down throughout to the rest of the day, then that is bearish, and we will probably see 15,400 on Bitcoin as the ultimate bottom, just as a result from this rising wedge pattern that I have seen. So really what we need to see on Bitcoin is 17,500 respected, and of course if Bitcoin can do that and stay above and do something like this, for example, then that should translate into Luna Classic doing something like this, where it breaks through our resistance and starts on a bullish move upwards towards 18.3 cents as a short-term price target from this smaller triangle, and this larger triangle having an ultimate price target of 40 cents. Of course, I make videos on here daily, so I will update you on my thoughts as new price data comes in. But at the moment, just by looking at the price now on Luna Classic, this is what I'm seeing. And this is why we could potentially blow here on Luna Classic. So that's all I have to say in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Do let me know in the comments down below whether you're holding any Luna Classic or not. And of course, if you found this video helpful, be sure to smash the like button and hit the subscribe if you haven't done so already. But otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.